All right. Thanks you all for your patience. We're going to go ahead and get started. Josh, we'll start with you.
Hey, Craig, thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it. I'm sure with the 2-hour delay, it wasn't exactly the best way that you guys probably wanted to do it. But looking at the game, maybe lack of an edge from you guys. The dynamic movement wasn't there. Maybe some of the tenacity that I think we've seen in the last couple of games was missing. Are those fair?
Very fair. I felt, my statement at halftime and my statement after the game is for too much of the game, and especially in the first half, we were operating at 60 or 7% of the intensity level that was needed. I felt like we got off to a decent start. Ball was moving quickly. But then when they started to up their pressure, and I think they raised a little bit of the intensity, they weren't going to let us get so comfortable. Then the game started to pick up a little bit, and I felt like our movement was a little too slow. Our reactions and transition, everything. Then we were a step too behind. We weren't getting close enough to people on the defensive side. We were losing second balls, first balls, everything in the first half, and we get ourselves down 2 goals. And this is a tough place to fight your way back, especially coming off of 1 game in 4 weeks and 2-hour delay. This is a hard place to go chasing the game. And so, yeah, I felt the things you said are exactly what we were lacking a little bit of edge, especially in the first half. The intensity level was low. We were second to a lot of situations in duels and second balls and things like that. Even our movements for each other, I just felt like we were kind of one-paced and we weren't consistently getting into a higher speeds like we have been. And to be fair to the group, and I said the thing, hasn't been how we trained this last 2 weeks, and this hasn't been how we played in the last couple of games. But we got to remember we've got to show up with and push through whatever the conditions are, whatever the situation is, and make sure that our intensity level to compete is right. And the soccer part of it will start to come together. But if we're not moving at the right speeds and the right intensity, it's going to be an uphill battle.
Oh, when it comes to Gabe and Joe, did the Rapids take them out of the game, or was it just a matter of not getting them running downhill and finding space for them? You guys scored, 5 goals in the last 2 games, and the offense was pretty quiet tonight.
Yeah, again, I think the offense is dependent on high-intensity actions, high-intensity movements, sprinting off the ball, building speed into your actions. I felt at times when we were able to break through the lines in some of the possessions, and then we would get the ball up into a higher position, and the running at the higher position would stop, and then we would play to people's feet, and we weren't playing into the space, and we weren't, again, running through the lines and playing and building speed into the final action. And so every time we get into a final action, we're either taking a shot from distance or we're hitting a cross into a lot of numbers because it's taken us a lot of time to build the attack and get into those types of positions. So again, I feel like when you play at a lower intensity level, then it's going to be harder to create chances. And I feel like we over stretches didn't get the ball to them quickly enough. Sometimes I think they need to be on the move more, and not receiving, and we're not playing at their feet all the time. Things that can increase the intensity and the speed of the game so that we can put the opposition in an unbalanced situation. I felt like they were pretty much always balanced and covering each other and had enough density to deal with a lot of the situations. So again, I think the things that you said at the beginning are a net result of also not getting some of the clearer chances and the better looks that we've been getting over the last few games.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Josh. Alex?
Hi, Greg. Thank you for your time. You discussed about the lack of edge. You guys have San Jose this weekend. What's your level of confidence that, you'll see something different on Saturday, that, the guys will probably be able to, have a better showing out on the road there?
Yeah, I think guys are going to want to bounce back and compete. This is again, it's not excuses. We didn't have the intensity level. But if there's a place that you have to play in our league, having only played 1 game in 4 weeks, it's not Colorado. You don't want to come at the altitude and have a 2-hour delay and have only played 1 in 4. You want to be going. You want to be a rhythm. You want to have played games. You want to be at your top fitness. I felt like for some of our guys who haven't really played at this type of altitude, like a Lucas, I felt like it really affected Lucas early in the game. He made some actions, and I feel like his brain and his feet I felt like he was in altitude mode, which is, I've been there. I used to play here. I know exactly what it feels like, and I felt like I could tell he was suffering a little bit. I think it's just, again, I think some of the intensity is we just weren't ready for the conditions, and we didn't push through the conditions and just get to the other side of it. So that's on us. We need to be sharper, tougher, and whatever words you want to use. But we need to fight through the conditions and the 2 hour delay. I felt like we just didn't find the right intensity level in the first half. The second half, again, I felt like they're protecting two goal lead, but for the most part in the second half, we did a good job in defending in transitions. We dealt with a lot of situations. We were trying to build attacks and get numbers going. I just think some of our attacks just need to be sharper and faster, and we need to get guys running harder, and then we might see a little bit clearer chances through it. But we'll put this one behind us. I think we get back and get going again on the weekend. They understand the what it's like to play San Jose and that it's a Classico, and we just played them not too long ago, so we have a pretty good sense of what they're going to look like and how the game's going to try to be played at least by San Jose.
Thank you, Greg. Safe travels back.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Rob?
Hey, Greg. Thanks so much for your time. You mentioned Lucas was suffering a little bit. Is that the reason you brought him off, or what, was it more of a tactical thing?
No, well, too, I thought he was suffering a little bit altitude-wise. He's also on a yellow card, and if you're a little bit late and delayed and a little bit behind the tempo or speed of the game and you're on a yellow card, it becomes a vulnerability. So I wanted to also protect him in that regard. And I just wanted to get a fresh legs in there with Isaiah and see if we couldn't just build a little bit more tempo to get the ball from the back line to the front line. So Isaiah coming in again with fresh legs, just trying to get a little bit more of a rhythm and get the game moving a little bit faster, but also with him on a yellow and what I thought was having a little bit of a hard time pushing through what might have been the conditions. He might be feeling a little something, I don't know, but I felt like it was a safe move for him and something that maybe we could use as a group.
The defense seems to be having trouble with these kind of give and go interchanges between the opposition offense. You saw it against St. Louis, and you saw it today for Colorado's first goal. Where's the disconnect happening there on the defensive end? Thank you.
Yeah, well, I have to go back and watch the exact actions. I don't remember precisely what happened in them today, but I feel like sometimes we're stepping forward and we're moving into guys, and guys are either dummying or they're playing off and moving again, and now they're playing in combination, and we're kind of getting stuck moving in the wrong direction. And sometimes I've seen us take one step in the direction that the ball goes as if we're moving and tracking the ball, but the player is now moving off us in the other direction, and there's just enough of a time edge when we do that where we lose our guy and we get in trouble. So I don't specifically remember the situations. A lot of game happened after that, so I don't remember the exact situations, but I will review it. I think some of it too is that we're conceding too much space between our lines, between our back line and our front line, and when that's happening, our center backs or our midfielders are swimming sometimes, and the spaces become too big, and then when you step forward, you expose space behind you, and so things become a little bit unclear. So that's something collectively tonight. I didn't think we did a great job of staying connected and managing our spaces front to back and side to side. And I felt like they had a lot of space that they could move and combine and do things like that more than usual. So, but again, I'd have to look back at the situations to be more specific.
All right, we don't see any other hands raised. Any other questions? Okay. Greg, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
I had a question, actually.
Oh.
Sorry. I thought my hand was raised. Sorry, Greg.
Sorry, Sophie, didn't see it. Good to have you on.
That's okay. Greg, tonight it felt like it was, from the outside looking in, maybe a mentality issue. Everything was very pedestrian, and there seemed to be a lack of leadership and no one really taking the game by the scruff of the neck. Do you think that's fair or foul?
No, I think to an extent it's fair. I don't, just because I've seen the last few games and I've seen the intensity which the group has been training and working. I think on the collective whole, we didn't meet the intensity level, and I think that intensity level. I think there were some guys on the field tonight who were just trying to survive the night physically, whether that's through the altitude or the challenges that are there. I felt like we had too many guys that were just worrying about kind of themselves and getting themselves through the game and trying to get themselves through the conditions. And I think sometimes that can translate into the things that you're seeing. Sometimes it translates to a lack of intensity. Sometimes it translates into a lack of connection. I felt a little bit of that, and I do think that at that point you really have to step up character-wise, and you have to dig in deep, and there has to be some leadership and pull some guys together and drive. And I felt like that was off a little bit tonight, so I would agree with that. I don't think it's been the character of the group for sure in this last bit or for much of it. So I take it a little bit with a grain of salt, and it's something that again we discussed in the locker room after the game that can't exist and can't happen.